Well, if you're concerned about the overreach of hate speech laws, you only need to look overseas to see that your fears are quite legitimate. So, two examples today. A 16-year-old British girl with autism was taken into custody recently after committing the heinous crime of saying a police officer looked like a lesbian. The girl's mother from Leeds uploaded a video to TikTok showing 7 West Yorkshire police officers entering their home and dragging the autistic girl away for a homophobic public order offence. Police had initially driven the girl home after her sister alerted them because she was concerned the autistic girl was acting in an unsafe way, ironically at the city's gay pride celebration. The 16-year-old was drunk. She had been giggling in the police car, was then driven back to her home address by police because her older sister was concerned for her safety. And arriving at her home, the 16-year-old made a comment about one of the female officers escorting her. What did she say that amounted to hate speech that would warrant arrest? Yeah, well, she said the female officer was a lesbian like her nana. Well, in fact, her nana is a lesbian married to a woman. So it was a factual statement. And the 16-year-old didn't even imply it was bad to be a lesbian in any way. So here's what the arrest looked like that went viral. You'll see the policewoman who's upset, the mother trying to protect her, and the upset 16-year-old cowering in the corner. Remember, this is a 16-year-old autistic girl. And the mother said her daughter ran and hid under the stairs and began apologizing to the officer, but the female officer insisted that the teenager would be placed under arrest. Have a watch.
Made a comment in her own house. You've got her on camera. She hasn't said anything to you. Don't matter. She doesn't matter. She's getting arrested. She's getting arrested. Why are you doing units coming? Don't worry. She hasn't done anything. She's autistic. I don't care. She's autistic. I know you're arrested. I'm telling you, I've got units coming. She's going to be arrested tonight. I'll wait till the police is coming. I'm like, if I get
That's why we got her in the first place.
fucking bitch up me if I get put calm down. She's autistic. Can you stop staring at her, please? She's got autism. Can you just stand there? She's in a cupboard. She can't go anywhere. She can't go anywhere. Stand there, dear. They're going to remove her for what? With your woman. Think she said the word lesbian. Her nana is a lesbian. She's married to a woman. She's not homophobic. Look what you're clenching your fist. Go away from my teenage daughter.
What is up with you? Right.
There is something wrong with you, mate. She didn't aim it at the police officer.
It's not homophobic remarks at my colleagues.
It's not a homophobic remark. She said, I think she's a lesbian like Nana.
If you want to bully people, you just get one of them badges there. That's what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Where'd it go? Where's this? Does it go to right under there?
She's autistic. She don't like people touching her. She will have a meltdown. She won't come out. She's got autism. I'm Lisa.
Talk to her so she can come out. Because we're trying not to do this, aren't we? We've been trying for a long time.
But she hasn't done nothing wrong. That officer out there has assaulted me for no reason. She's got autism. She's autistic now.
The issue is, if an officer decides to arrest her...
She got arrested. They brought her up.
She's under arrest now.
No, but she was going upstairs and she made a comment to me and that officer ran in my house and assaulted me and tried to get to my daughter for now.
If you want to make a complaint about any of it, that's fine.
I am going to.
Will have been on.
I am going to. Yeah, because it is on and she has.
She's now under arrest.
She was full of rage and she ran in the house and she barged me into this corner.
Okay, so they escorted her out by the arms. And remember, this is for the heinous crime of saying the word lesbian. Incredible. This is an autistic 16-year-old who simply said about a policewoman, she looks like a lesbian like my nana. 7 officers ended up arresting her. Apparently that's police priority in the UK. Now, police kept the 16-year-old in custody for 20 hours and she was finally released pending further inquiries and advice from Crown Prosecution Service, police said in a statement. And the statement acknowledged that she was arrested on suspicion of a homophobic public order offence. Now, after a massive uproar, the police confirmed it was taking no further action against the teenager, released her from bail, although a review of the arrest by West Yorkshire Police Professional Standards Directory is ongoing. Well, that's the UK, where the word lesbian can get you arrested by 7 police. Then there's the recent example from the US, a Christian preacher who was arrested after protesting a pride event in Wisconsin. And he spoke out about the experience at a city council meeting. Marcus Schroeder belongs to the Christian preacher group Warriors for Christ, and he argued that the protection of children's innocence is paramount, and therefore drag queen events, particularly those with sexual dancing, should never be a place for children. And the arrest occurred as he was evangelizing scripture passages at the city's purportedly family-friendly Pride in the Park event, which featured drag queens wearing lingerie, reading books, and a dance performance. Now, according to the video of the incident, Schroeder used a microphone while reading from a Bible when officers surrounded him and grabbed his equipment as he was stating, "Love thy neighbor as yourself." It was explained at the time he was being arrested for violating a sound ordinance about noise amplification. Have a watch.
For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, beware lest you be consumed by one another.
Hey, what are you doing?
What is the problem?
What's wrong? What are you doing? I just think that my hand. You didn't give him any warning. You just grabbed the mic. No, this is the same one that we had in here. Yeah, that was in there. It was not out here. What is wrong with you? What are you doing? You didn't give us any warning. Let it go. You guys have been warned.
They said we can they said we can speak out here on the sidewalk freely.
You can speak, but there's no amplified device.
Nobody told us that.
What are you doing? Nobody told me that.
How come there's no amplification? Hey, you guys are acting like thugs, man. You're acting like straight up thugs.
Hey, you're taking away my property.
He has every right to be out here engaging in speech. He has every right to be out here engaging in speech. There's cars driving by with their radios playing, that's amplified sound. People are standing out here with radios, that's amplified sound. The ordinance has to do with a decibel gauge. You don't just get to pick and choose which amplification you like and which you don't. That's selective enforcement of the law.
Yeah, well, Schroeder reacted to the incident stating, "All I did was read from scripture on the sidewalk," and he was released with a warning. And he later spoke to the city council about what had happened.
When I showed up Saturday, all I did was read from scripture on the sidewalk. I read from the Bible, Galatians. And by the way, I wasn't reading Romans 1. I wasn't reading any passage that spoke against homosexuality or anything like that. I was reading a passage from the Bible about love. And I was arrested. No reason, not given any warning, not told anything about my amplification needing to be turning down. I was arrested and taken into custody simply for reading the Bible on the sidewalk. You see, as we become more and more tolerant of sexual immorality in our culture, we become more and more intolerant towards Christian morality. And the more we become intolerant towards Christian morality, the more we're going to see lawlessness in our streets. The more we become intolerant of Christian morality, the more we're going to see Nazis. The more we're going to see people who don't hold to a Christian worldview, who think that everybody is a result of animals, and therefore if we are animals, then why can't we just act like animals? We were called a hate group. We were told that we don't want to understand the other side, and I just want to set the record straight. I am more than happy to have that conversation with the other side. I did speech and debate throughout high school, and one of the things that we were taught in debate is that you can't make an argument for your side until you're able to make the argument for the other side. I've sat down and had hours of discussions with LGBTQ activists. I completely understand the other side. I want to understand the other side. But drag queens twerking on kids in lingerie is unacceptable, and that's something that we have to notice as a culture. We can have our disagreements, but there comes a time when we have to understand that we are all going to stand before God one day, and we're going to have to give an account for what we have done with the children in our society, the innocent minds and the children who deserve to be protected. Thank you.
Well, could these things happen in New Zealand? The government's proposed hate speech law, which they put on ice recently, but will be sure to reintroduce, if they form the next government after the election, means you would break the law by being threatening, abusive, or insulting. So you could potentially commit a criminal offence simply by insulting someone who belongs to a protected group. And the proposed law also sought to expand the above list of protected groups to include gender identity, to clarify the protections for trans, gender diverse, and intersex people, including gender expression and gender identity. This means that any speech deemed offensive to transgender people or certain groups could be considered a criminal act punishable with fines or imprisonment. So if you say there are only two sexes, what is a woman? Only women can get pregnant, all deemed hateful. I mean, they already are, and aren't they almost? But we can't even get a full-page advertisement asking simply, what is a woman? And note that the protected groups tend to be those which progressive, left-leaning, woke people want to protect. Why only those groups? Aren't all humans hurt by hate, regardless of their group membership? Will Christians be a protected group? Yeah. Political activists and special interest groups will miss the important distinction between hate speech and merely speech they hate. And they'll end up using such laws as tools of political intimidation to punish opponents and shut down debate in the marketplace of ideas. Now, read up more on this issue. Have a look at our website, hatespeech.nz, and there's a fact sheet that you can read as well. And by the way, National and ACT opposed hate speech laws. Labour, Greens and Te Pāti Māori voted for them. Keep that in mind.